Hi everyone, and welcome to our daily Bible reading. Today is from the book of John, the Gospel according to John. It is chapter 21, verses 1 through 14, and it is the second to the last reading in the Gospel, and we will have completed all four Gospels. And so, if you want to revisit the Gospels from the beginning, feel free to find my YouTube channel where they are all listed by book. And this will be the last these two videos will be the last two daily Bible videos for a little while, because I'm developing something and praying on it of what to do next when it comes to spreading the word in the way that Jesus wants me to do that. So I'm excited about that. So please refer to the short video for our questions, which is basically about going back to old habits and old comforts, old ways of providing for yourself after encountering Jesus. And I'm super guilty of that. And it is a cycle I get into. And so that is another reason why I need this time, so that I can figure that out according to God's will and not mine. And then the other question was about Jesus not waiting for us to be perfect before he welcomes us. And so when we failed and when we've gone backwards, or we don't know what to do next, which is kind of where I am, what does it look like for me to just come to Jesus and have that meal with him? And so that is also where I am. And again, I find it fascinating that the Lord took me through these four books, these four Gospels, and has quietly said, okay, now it's time to stop. And then we're going to figure out what to do next. So feel free to answer or interact below, and we're going to get started with the reading. So first we'll say a prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and glory forever and ever. And I want us all to really petition the Lord for his will in all aspects of our lives, whether it is posting on social media about him, sharing the word, or even if it's about a job or a place to live. Seek the Lord first, then make your decision. And I think you will find that things get easier because you don't get caught up in the you and the stress of the moment. So I pray for that for you, and I hope that you pray for that for me as well. So I am going to move this a little because it is, there's nothing I can do. The lighting in here is terrible. Okay. Chapter 21. After these things, Jesus showed himself again to the disciples at the Sea of Tiberias. And in this way he showed himself: Simon Peter, Thomas called the twin, Nathanael of Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and two others of his disciples were together. Simon Peter said to them, I'm going fishing. They said to him, we are going with you also. They went out and immediately got into the boat, and that night they caught nothing. But when the morning had come, Jesus stood on the shore, yet the disciples did not know that it was Jesus. Then Jesus said to them, Children, have you any food? They answered him, No. And he then said to them, Cast the net on the right side of the boat, and you will find some. And so they cast, and now they were not able to draw it in because of the multitude of fish. Therefore that disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, It is the Lord. Now when Simon Peter heard that it was the Lord, he put on his outer garment, for he had removed it, and plunged into the sea. But the other disciples came in the little boat, for they were not far from land, about 200 cubits, dragging the net with fish. Then, as soon as they had come to land, they saw a fire of coals there, and fish laid on it, and bread. And Jesus said to them, Bring some of the fish which you have just caught. Simon Peter went up and dragged the net to land, full of large fish, 153. And although there were so many, the net was not broken. And Jesus said to them, Come and eat breakfast. Yet none of the disciples dared ask him, Who are you? Knowing that it was the Lord. Jesus then came and took the bread and gave it to them, and likewise the fish. This is now the third time Jesus showed himself to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. So John's gospel. So this is the third time that John's gospel mentions Jesus interacting with them. But I think that it's very impactful for so many reasons. It's kind of like back where it all started. And that plays into it later in the second half of this chapter, this final chapter. So they're fishermen, and they were fishermen then when Jesus found them. And yes, they were disciples of John the Baptist and then Jesus himself, but they were fishermen. And they all worked together, at least the sons of Zebedee, right? And Simon Peter. And we know that they did that for a long time. And they did follow Jesus because Jesus told them to go to Galilee and kind of wait for him. And Peter is just impatient, right? Like, he's like, I'm not waiting anymore. I need to do something. And I get that. And again, like, I think it's so important that we're patient. And I know that I am not patient. I am so far from patient that I get Peter. Like, even in my notes, I'm like, well, I totally understand. He just has to do something or else he's going to lose his mind, right? Because that's what happens. And so he's like, I'm going fishing. And the rest of the guys are like, you know what? Me too. Even if they weren't sure, because Jesus didn't say they couldn't, but he also didn't say what they should be doing. And what happened? They went into the boat. They fished all night, which should have meant catching something, and they didn't catch anything. The next morning, they see a man on the beach. And he says, hey, have you eaten? Do you have food? And they're like, no. And he's like, well, come on. And this is what you do. Cast the net onto the right side, which really should have had no bearing onto whether they caught fish right or left side. And they're all fishermen, and they all know that, but they did it, and sure enough, they have all these fish they caught. And here we go, the fishers of men. This is it's like a parable in action, right? And I know that for me, it has special meaning. And I know that I have taken some time, like, to make these videos, for example, because I have been really contemplating this and really thinking about this and the importance of not getting caught up in my own need to be doing something. There's a time and a season for everything in this world, but the one consistent thing is Christ and being patient and listening and abiding in him and his will and what he wants you to do next. So it's so important. And I think that's why it's taken me so long to even make these videos. This last chapter has been so impactful for me. The whole book, in fact. So, interesting points that, what does Peter do? Well, Peter's probably like they all are. They're probably half naked in the boat because it's sturdy, sweaty work. And what does he do is he throws on his outer garment and jumps in the water, even though he's going to get soaking wet, because he honors Christ so much. Because when John recognizes his voice, and he's like, oh my gosh, dude, that's him. And he leaves his buddies in the boat and he swims to him because, Peter still has so much left to prove in his own mind. And gosh, I can't tell you how much I relate to Peter. Like, I just can't tell you. You always want to be number one in the class. You want to be special. And you want to be, and you want to do the right thing. And in your zest and your zeal, you wind up just making all these mistakes and then feeling like an utter failure. And in Peter's case, it was catastrophic. He fulfilled that prophecy, that Jesus told him that he would, and he denied Jesus 3 times. And even though we know that Jesus and Peter spoke in privately before, that was private. We don't know what happened in that conversation. But we do know that is in this gospel, we know that his failure is unresolved. And he is no longer feeling like a leader, not even for himself. And it goes to show you even his impatience to go fishing. I'm just going to go fishing. And I know exactly how that feels. I know exactly what it feels like to be in that situation. and to just not know what to do next, and to be so impatient that you just do something and you think, well, at least I'm doing this, right? I'm doing this. I'm going to be productive. And then it turns out to be completely unproductive and kind of wasteful because we didn't wait to hear. I didn't listen. I wasn't patient enough to take on the Lord's leading. And so what does Jesus do? He prepares breakfast for his friends. And what's also exciting with Simon Peter, is he's so excited that when Jesus says, go get some more of the fish that you caught, he went and he pulls this 300-pound sack of fish, 153 fish, all by himself, right? So Peter had it going on. His adrenaline, he's like probably, I don't know what to do. But he's doing something. And now he's doing something for Jesus. And it's something small that he can do right. So just a real quick thing with the 153. There are so many things. That's a lot of fish. And something that I think is important to remember when it comes to this is that we look into things sometimes more deeply than we should. And next thing you know, we kind of make stuff up. So one of the things that I came across was about the 153 fish. People debate what it means. Some think it's an allegory, and there's all kinds of different numerological type of arguments for it within the Christian context, right? It's like a Christian mysticism, I would imagine. And maybe there was an allegory to it. I don't know. But maybe it was just 153 fish. And John was very specific, and he made a point of telling us. And so it leads me to believe that it could have been that there were 153 fish, and that 153 had a specific meaning. What that other meaning was, I don't know. Maybe one day I will, but not today. But I believe there were 153 fish. And if there was any subcontext or subtext to the number, then I don't need to know it just now. All we know, Dodds says, all we know for certain is that 153 represents the number of fish in the net. The many allegorical interpretations of the number warn us against creating hidden meanings in biblical text. Peter never landed a haul of fish without counting them, and John, fisherman as he was, could never forget the number of his largest takes. So it's really important. It's really important when we read the Bible to not get too caught up into the hidden meanings. I mean, people will find hidden meanings in the letters and the certain numbers and the books and your birth dates and all. We get caught up in anything that is not the gospel, that is not God's story. And I think that we can really kind of see ourselves walking down a dangerous path, because it keeps us not focused on the fact that Jesus came to feed his friends and nourish them one last time and love them like that one last time. He had a job to do. And so I don't want us to ever forget that. But it did strike me because it also speaks to my own personal past, where I saw way too deeply into certain things. And the devil is in those details, right? He knows how to get you. He knows how to come at you. He knows what is going to stimulate that part of your brain to reject the patience for Jesus, to reject listening to him and following yourself. And it becomes very difficult to know the difference, which is why we just need to focus on what's the most important thing here. And that is always that Jesus came to earth. He lived on earth. He died for us. And then he rose again and ascended into heaven. And that is the most important thing. So anything that kind of gets us out of that thinking as the primary purpose of our studies, then I think we need to question whether those studies are relevant. So just my own thought on that. But I love that Jesus showed up in Galilee on the shores of Lake Tiberias, and kind of they come full circle. John takes us full circle here. And I just think it's so wonderful. Yeah, I feel like I've come full circle in many, many ways. So I will see you next time. Tomorrow's reading, and it will be tomorrow, is Jesus Restores Peter, the Beloved Disciple, and his book. And I really could cry, because I did cry when I finished reading it. And I really can't wait to go back and reread it again. All the Gospels. And I understand now why John is so loved, because now like I said, I started this journey reading the Bible with my heart and emotionally investing in it, and it's really the first time, instead of reading it through, a psychological lens, a sociological lens, historical lens, heck, even a scientific lens. But this one is through a purely emotional lens, while utilizing the understanding of all the other ways I've read it. And so I've connected with it in a way that I never thought I could, or that was possible, to be honest. So my faith has been enhanced incredibly through this experience, and I highly recommend it. So God bless you all, and I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.